Deborah, it's always great to see you. I wonder if perhaps you're not underselling it in your book title, that we might actually be approaching the end of women. I mean, J.K. Rowling is basically being shut out of this party because she thought that the term persons who menstruate was ridiculous. And why were we all so scared of saying the word women? Why are we all so scared of saying the word women?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Mark. It's great to see you again, as always. Definitely, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And in this particular case, I mean, J.K. Rowling is the creator of a billion-dollar empire, an extremely successful franchise. On what planet would a female creator of something that is so culturally relevant and explosive not be invited to a celebration of it? I don't think you would see that in any other case. But in this case, because trans activists are as aggressive and intimidating as they are, they've managed to basically force everyone to go along with their particular agenda. So in my book's title, The End of Gender, refers to our lack of understanding of gender due to science denial and the fact that we can't speak openly about the basic facts like men and women being biologically different, that biology does play a role and that it's important. That if someone is attracted to women, they may not want to necessarily have sex with a woman with a penis, and that should be totally okay, and that should not be seen as hateful or transphobic. And I really think it's unfortunate because if everyone who was not on board with this said so vocally, I think it would be much more clear that this is not acceptable. But people are understandably afraid. And to see this happening to such a powerful woman, I think most people say, well, if she's not safe from this, what chance do I have in speaking up and keeping my job and not being destroyed by these activists?
Well, you talked about the science there. I had a conversation on telly a year or two back with a trans athlete. That's to say a trans gender woman who competed in various sporting events, and she was talking about, oh, don't worry, it's all completely fair. We make sure we lower our levels of testosterone, so it's all a completely fair when we're competing against biological ladies. The Olympic Committee has just said, never mind, we're not bothering with all that testosterone stuff. It's far too difficult to maintain. Basically, women's sports were created because otherwise it would be very rare for simply because of their different physical strengths, for a woman to beat a man in certain sports. I mean, I'd lose to Martina Navratilova at tennis, but that's because I'm not very good and I sleep in till 11 and then have a couple of cheeseburgers, and Martina takes it more seriously. But generally speaking, women's sports were created so that there would be a space for women to compete without the men having the basic physical advantage. And now the Olympics have said, oh, no, we don't care about that anymore. So basically, there's going to be male sports and transgender sports, aren't there?
When I saw the new guidelines, I honestly thought it was a joke. I went through them and I said, where's the section that's going to talk about what sort of initiatives need to be held so that there will be a fair playing ground? So kudos to the trans activists again for managing to intimidate even the Olympics into going along with this, because I know that the Olympics have been going back and forth trying to make a decision about this for the last couple of years because it is such a hotly contested political issue, and they want to, I think my sense was, to take into account the concerns of trans activists, but also to have some basis of meritocracy for female athletes, because as you said, there are clear advantages, although I believe the guideline says that there are no clear advantages, but there are, if you look at the science, clear advantages in terms of male athletes, those born male who have undergone male puberty, even if they have taken hormonal suppression, so they're suppressing testosterone and taking estrogen, that does not override the advantages that come along with being larger, stronger, faster, having greater muscle mass. I talk about all the science in The End of Gender. And so, I mean, it's been left up to the individual sports to make a decision about how they want to present these requirements if any requirements are being made. But I think if the top highest level organization is saying that there are no differences, I mean, what are other more individual sports going to do? I mean, they're not going to. I don't think they're not going to want to deal with the backlash. And in some ways, I don't blame them. These activists are extremely aggressive, but I really feel for the female athletes because it's not fair for them.
Well, when you say they're not willing to deal with the backlash, we've had J.K. Rowling is one of the wealthiest women on the planet, but in the end, you know, she's feeling lonelier day by day because, you know, people at her publishing house don't want to talk to her. People, Warner Brothers, who make the movies, don't want to talk to her, as we've just seen. Similar thing in Canada, where Margaret Atwood, the Handmaid's Tale lady we mentioned earlier, she's been taking some heat for this too. It's incredible to me that you have to be at that level even to withstand it. Everyone else just bows meekly and submits, including corporations and all the rest. And you have to really be at the J.K. Rowling, Margaret Atwood level to be even successful enough now. You've got to belong to the most select group of women, among the wealthiest women on the planet, among the most successful and prominent women on the planet, even to be able to make a show at standing up for women.
It's absolutely insane. And when you look at the harassment that those women have to deal with constantly, the things that they are being called on social media, the opportunities that are being denied to them now, I think you have to, when you speak out about this issue, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, you have to be completely unapologetic and know exactly what you're getting into and know that this is going to put you on the other side of quote unquote history, I guess, on the quote unquote wrong side of history. But what happens is otherwise the activists see that you are willing to capitulate, that organizations and your colleagues are willing to capitulate if they are willing to shun you for speaking the truth. It really has to be, you know, it's a big sacrifice, I would say, that's being made when these women do choose to speak out, and we should support them.
I get the feeling this is all moving very fast, much faster than we think. I sometimes worry that books like yours won't even be able to be published in a year or two. There have been other books that have been banned from Amazon and banned in Barnes and Noble and all the rest of it. And yet it seems there's no real groundswell of public support for this. This is just something that is being imposed from top down. It's by the elites down, and it's the abolition of biological sex. It has huge implications. It's far more important than any other political topic. There's no great popular movement from it. It's a top-down revolution against the masses in certain respects.
Yeah, I don't know how the public has been. I mean, I don't think most people are okay with this, but when you look at, as you mentioned, corporations, you look at mainstream media, it's completely been captured by gender ideology. And with my book in particular, I question even if I would be able to write that book today. I mean, it came out a year ago. There have been numerous attempts. In one case, one very large retailer has permanently banned my book. I hear from people all over the world telling me that they go to their local bookstore.
Which retailer banned it, Deborah?
If you go to National Review's website, they did an investigation. Well, you can say, Mark. I'm not sure that I want to say which one it was, but if it's on my website, people can look it up. And National Review did an investigation and found out.
I understand that, but we will find out and we will mention it because these people deserve to take. They need to understand, which they don't, is that there's two sides. At the moment, the pressure comes from one side, and there's very little pushback from the other. But this is the biggest change of our time. If the abolition of biological sex just rampages on at the rate it's going, Deborah. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always a pleasure, and you are one. I hope you're making as much money from your book as J.K. Rowling makes from hers, because you are one of the few who is standing up to this. And there will be great implications, not just just for feminism, but for female identity at its most fundamental if this continues.